Welcome to Count Stacula on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in to another one of my videos. The theme of today's video is perseverance. Let's get into it. So let's get into it. Perseverance, yes. Why are we talking about that today? Well, as you can see, these are all my silver pours that out of all of the attempts that I've made, and there were a lot of attempts, these are the ones that actually made the correct size of 1 ounce, and they look pretty cool. And as you notice, now they've all been stamped. So yeah, that's something new that I had to figure out. And as you can see, it wasn't very easy. These are pretty thin little 1 ounce pieces to be able to stamp by hand. And these were my first attempts right here. And they look pretty wonky, hard, almost to illegible. I suppose they're legible, but it's kind of harder. These were the very early renditions. Well, I had to persevere through the difficult first 5 or 10 because this was like the best I could do with hand stamping, and it got better. But I actually had to create a jig to be able to make them aligned. It wasn't easy, and so I 3D printed a jig so that would help me stamp these things. And I'm not going to demonstrate all that today because it's I don't have it handy, but I'll maybe show it at some point. So I was able to stamp them appropriately, and they look halfway decent, It took quite a bit of time, and it wasn't easy, but I made it. So I persevered. And the reason why it's the topic of today is because I just had another casting failure. Unfortunately, everything was going perfect, and sometimes, everything can go perfect up into the last second, and the vacuum didn't pull, and that ruined the cast, and now I've got 20 ounces of a mess of silver that needs to get remelted. So next time I'll get it. But no big deal. The important part is that I'm not giving up. There were difficulties along the way, even with stamping here. So you can see I used a small 1.5 millimeter stamp on this one. This one has a 2 millimeter stamp, and then on this one, actually a 3 millimeter stamp. But the problem with the 3 millimeter stamp is that it actually started warping the coin because you have to smack it really hard. Whereas the tiny stamp doesn't really do quite as much damage, and so it maintains its shape and whatnot. So these are my pours. I know I've showed them off on the channel before, but we're gonna take a look at a few of them as I rant on about perseverance. None of these would be here today if it weren't for the fact that I just kept going despite countless failures over and over again. Literally, this was probably the hardest thing I have ever attempted to do in terms of my, craft. And I've done a lot of different things, and including carbon fiber. Carbon fiber was incredibly difficult. This is harder. However, I think this tends to be a little bit cleaner than carbon fiber, which was one of my biggest complaints with working with carbon fiber, is that it's so dusty and disgusting. when you're sanding it. But that's for another video, maybe even another channel altogether. But the casting is something that I really enjoy doing. Obviously, I have some talent in doing so, and I want to continue. It is quite difficult. I don't see myself getting to a point where I could be manufacturing this stuff for regular production, sale, or anything, because of how difficult it is and how unpredictable, how frequent the failure rate is. It's just not something that I would want to do unless I had like a huge lab and a bunch of employees and a bunch of money. But that's not going to happen. However, the same could be said about the 3D printing. There were countless difficulties along the way with starting a 3D printing business and selling all my coin boxes. All the way from design, learning how to design precision parts and that can be 3D printed, and the entire learning curve there, it took years, and between designing and learning how to 3D print appropriately and getting better and making little adjustments along the way to make everything better, that took a really long time. And I haven't been doing this nearly as long. So I do imagine that, a couple years down the road, I will probably have ironed out a lot of the issues. I actually have ironed out a lot of those issues, except, there are some unpredictable failures that can happen, like today, the vacuum. If I even tested the vacuum to make sure that it was going to work, and it did. But when I was placing the flask into the chamber, it misaligned the gaskets, and that was what the reason was, that it didn't pull proper vacuum. And so there goes a couple days worth of work, all in just a few seconds. So that is quite disappointing. I had some new designs that you hadn't seen there. I was eager to show off on the channel, on this video, but we're gonna have to wait until next week or the week after that before taking a look at some of those. So no big deal, but it is something that, I do have feelings about every time I fail at something, every time something goes wrong, you get hit emotionally. But you got to use that to build your strength, your determination, your perseverance to continue until success and never give up, and so it's a really important part of being successful at what you do and achieving a sense of pride in your work. Just don't give up. For many other things in life, like sports, if you are an athlete, if you gave up and got discouraged at a failure or an injury, you would never achieve that title or that that greatness that you're looking to achieve with your athletic sports. So obviously a lot of roadblocks along the way, and including injuries and stuff that will hold you back, and you got to know when you can perform and when to take a rest day, so that you can ride another day. That's key. You don't want to overtrain. Sometimes you can overdo it in life, in all kinds of things. So you want to find that balance, that happy medium, giving yourself adequate time to recover from a failure, or hopping right back in and immediately working on fixing the problem. As long as you're not, if we're not talking about sports and injuries, But even with that, you know, there's things you can do immediately to help yourself. Ice that injury, or seek medical attention, or, you know, take that rest day, or start physical therapy, you know, a million different things. But, you know, when it comes to stacking, that could be buying another ounce of gold or silver. That could be saving your money for next month if you don't have any money to be able to buy this month, or to save towards your retirement, or whatever you're doing with stacking, for example. But that is my shtick on perseverance for the day, because if it weren't for all those failures and you know issues, I never would have, you know, accomplished what we're looking at today, which took a lot of time, practice, and effort. It didn't come all at once, and it wasn't easy. And you know, maybe that's why I don't want to let it go either, because you know, each one of these pieces represents you know, one of those successes along the way of a string of many failures. So you know, it's definitely important to, you know, take pride in the little successes that we get along the way, because failure is inevitable. You know, there's nobody that doesn't fail along the way to success. So just keep that in mind the next time you run into a roadblock in your life, and you know that you don't have to get emotional. You can just, you know, think rationally, stay calm. Getting angry never really helps. And just as soon as you can start working towards fixing the problem, the better off and the closer you are to your next success. And that is definitely something to keep in mind for the future. So thank you for tuning in and checking out some of these pieces. These are a culmination of pretty much all the pieces that I've done so far. Just a couple others that are on my shelf, but you know, I'm pretty proud of these, and they remain on display all the time because I love looking at them. I love the feeling. You know, I love how it blends both of my crafts, both the 3D printing. You know, I've got the boxes specific for my pours, so it keeps them nice and neat. And you know, if you jiggle them, they kind of clank and make cool noises and stuff. So I like that about that. But this has been Count Stacula. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out the links down in the description if you're interested in any of these 3D printed boxes for your coins. I have a whole bunch of different designs. Just take a look at the links in the description to pick one up on eBay. Also, smash that like button, helps the channel. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.